Did you know that 78% of Americans say that they live paycheck to paycheck? That is insane, okay? And I don't want you to be one of them. So, in this video, we're gonna be taking a look at a recent survey of those saying that they live paycheck to paycheck, why they feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. We have to just dive right into the article here. And as you can see, I've highlighted this right away. 2023 survey conducted by payroll.org highlighted that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And this article by Forbes sort of synthesized all the data, put all the data together, and it was an easier way to consume it. So that's why I just kind of want to go through some of the talking points here. And this was a 6% increase of the previous year's survey. So it went up 6%, okay, which is just insane. And so just for some clarity here, this is how the article and the survey kind of defines what paycheck to paycheck is. So for the purpose of the survey, living paycheck to paycheck describes a financial scenario in which an individual or family's income barely covers essential living expenses like housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation. One missed paycheck would put someone living paycheck to paycheck in a difficult spot, right? Self-explanatory. Most people know what that is. I just like to define words to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing. This was an interesting question and kind of what they led off with, right? Which generation is most likely to live paycheck to paycheck? According to the survey, nearly half of baby boomers said that they live paycheck to paycheck. This part down here was very alarming in my opinion. So this is how much do Americans have saved? And as you can see here over in the savings column, we have $1 to 500, 500 to 1,000, right? And so on and so on. And basically $1 or probably $0 to $2,000 of the respondents who say that they're living paycheck to paycheck, only 15% of them said that they have over $2,000 saved. Okay, $2,000, only 15%. And what was also kind of surprising is respondents whose income exceeds standard expenses. So basically, they're making more money than they're spending every month. Only 40% of those people have over $2,000 in savings. Like, what's going on here? This column just seems lazy, okay? This column, I totally understand. You're living paycheck to paycheck. It's hard to save money when you're paycheck to paycheck, right? But this column doesn't make any sense. They talked about families who live paycheck to paycheck. So in a lot of scenarios, and this is kind of surprising, but families with one child reported more paycheck to paycheck scenarios than other, right? So that's kind of interesting. I don't really have any talking points on that. It's interesting that it goes down from 52 to 31 when 1 to 2, right? Because I don't know. I guess it's about the same, right? I've got 2 kids. Are the expenses that much higher? Yes, they are. So that was interesting. And yeah, 5+ kids. Wow, good for you guys. That is insane. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes of this article and of this survey, right? What's causing Americans to live paycheck to paycheck? And they've got this awesome chart down here. And we're going to kind of dive through a few different talking points because they've broken it out by reason. Okay, so all over here, there's like 10 reasons, and by generation, right? So Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, Baby Boomers. So basically here, they asked the respondents to identify 3 key reasons, okay? So they had to each pick 3 reasons, and that's why the percentages won't match to 100%, okay? But the 3 overall issues that all the populations had: high monthly bills, lack of budgeting and financial planning, and low income, right? Those were the top 3 for all of them. Now, let's take a look at each of the generations, and we can kind of click here and it's going to categorize it for us. So for Gen Z, high monthly bills, low income, unexpected emergencies, okay? And surprisingly, Gen Z was the highest with unexpected emergencies. Now, I don't like to make assumptions here, but Gen Z, being a little younger, probably has less obligations than some of the other groups. So could this be a combination of unexpected emergencies and lack of budgeting and financial planning? Because that did come in 4th, right? So maybe there is some thing to that, right? Where maybe some of these are tied, like, okay, high monthly bills, but like, are we planning for it, right? Low income is low income. And I've said this on my channel many, many times, but don't feel like you're stuck with your low income. You could always make more money. People do it all the time, okay? You just got to want it. And even if it's not at your job, you got to look for another job or you got to do a side hustle. And kind of surprised down here with debt being only 4%. And I'm kind of overall very surprised that people only saying debt is 6% of the issue with living paycheck to paycheck. Now, we all know that debt is a huge crisis in America, the consumer debt, not even talking about what the government's doing, right? That's a whole other channel, right? But consumer debt, like personal debt, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it doesn't make any sense that this is only 6%. So it's either people are lying or people feel like these other things are getting in the way of that. So for some extra context though, I've been an accountant for 10 years and I'm helping people with their personal finances. I talk to people every day and people call debt like a bill. So I don't know if maybe that was like a strange distinction where they saw the two options, but they just clicked on high monthly bills because they kind of grouped everything together. So that's certainly a possibility. Okay, so let's go to the millennials, right? Let's see what their challenges are. Lack of budgeting and financial planning, high monthly bills, and low income. Pretty much the same thing as Gen Z, except for I think they have lack of budgeting. Gen Z had unexpected emergencies, right? But that came in fourth for millennials. So it seems like it's a similar kind of structure with this. And again, very surprised. Millennials, 2.5% could have been lumped into monthly bills, but this debt thing doesn't make any sense to me at all, to be perfectly honest with you. And if this is true, then kudos to those people for not really having debt. And I realize that this is not the entire US population that they've surveyed, so it could be dependent on who they talk to, right? But it is very interesting. Okay, so let's go to the Gen X. And they had three that were basically tied for first, right? High monthly bills, low income, lack of budgeting, and financial planning. I'm seeing a theme here, right? People are blaming their high bills. People are blaming their low income. People are blaming their lack of budgeting and financial skills. Now, Gen X probably maybe a little more honest here with their debt, 10%. That's amazing. And as we're getting older here, like the medical expenses one is kind of going up and up and up. So that's going to change the percentages of some of the other ones, right? But kind of surprised to see Gen X social pressures being at 24%. I thought that would be like a Gen Z thing and a millennial thing, but it just shows that it's truly contagious, this social pressure, the social media, everyone's showing their infinity pools and their yachts, right? And everyone's just trying to feel like they're keeping up, but in the meantime, they're just buying things that they can't afford, okay? So last but not least, of course, the baby boomers. This one, they had an increase in the cost of living was by far their first. Almost 2/3 of baby boomers included this into their top three, right? So that's interesting. High monthly bills and low income. Now I'm going to sort this back to just the all real quick because let's take a look just at this list, right? High monthly bills, lack of budgeting, low income, unexpected emergencies, increased in cost of living, social pressures, medical expenses, financially supporting family members, and debt. So we just listed off 9 there, and I'm really only seeing 2 that are not really fixable in a way, right? So medical expenses and financially supporting family members, that one's kind of dicey. You could say no, it's tough. I don't really know what that means. Is it saying like you're helping your cousin? Is it you're helping your kids or your parents? But medical expenses, that's tough. You can't really do much about that. But the other 7, so let's call it 7 things that you could fix. They're actionable, right? High monthly bills. Is it because you're spending too much? Is it because of other factors, right? Lack of budgeting and financial planning. There's plenty of free information out in the World Wide Web, right? On YouTube, on other platforms, whatever. Low income, I mentioned this before. That is easily solvable. You can get a new job. You can try to make yourself more valuable at your current workplace, right? Unexpected emergencies. Okay, so I understand that if we scroll back up to the top here, I know that people are having, a hard time saving even just $2,000, but we got to start building up that emergency fund, right? And I don't want you to read the thing online that says 3 to 6 months worth of, monthly expenses should be in your emergency fund. Don't listen to that garbage. That's like outrageous because if you've never done this before, that could be $10,000 to $30,000, right? Like who has that kind of money? And just think about the stuff that comes up in your life that's unexpected and what dollar amount would cover most of those things, right? Is it $500, $2,000? They're your personal finances, so that number is kind of dependent on you, but that's what I would start with. That's what your goal should be. Increase in cost of living, that's tough, but like you could move. I mean, that's kind of tough though. It's a little harder. And I understand why baby boomers are saying that this is so much higher. They're probably used to 60 years ago when the cost of everything was not as expensive as it is now, right? Social pressures. This one's stupid. Like just stop caring what other people think. This one is probably the easiest one. You could turn it off in a day. You could just fix that in a day. Stop going on social media. Stop trying to, again, look at the yachts, look at the pools, look at the whatever. Medical expenses, family, yeah, we talked about those, and then debt. This is solvable as well. You create a plan. You put your debt in front of you. You take a look at it. You can put it in a debt payment calculator. I have one down in the description of this video, by the way. It's completely free to download. You put it in, you see how much interest you're paying throughout your loan, what your debt-free date is, and then you try to work out the fastest way to pay it down a little faster and adding a little extra money. Again, I know this is all about living paycheck to paycheck. You might not have extra dollars or whatever, but 7 of these are solvable. So that's great news for you. So down in the comments, which one of these is your biggest challenge? I'd love to hear from you guys because, again, they're all solvable. So once you look at it, you're like, yeah, low income's my problem. I would tell you, you could fix that, right? So let me know, and I'd love to sort of talk it through with you.